Do you consider yourself to be a creative person? Or not? What if I told you there's no such thing? What is creativity anyway, and how do we boost our creativity? Many people confuse creativity with artistry. Artists usually demonstrate creativity, but creativity is found and needed in many areas outside the arts. The simplest definition of creativity is generating ideas that are new and appropriate. Let's think of a chef. If a chef is just following a recipe he and many others have followed before, that isn't new, and thus not creative. If the chef tries to take raw ingredients and paint with them, that wouldn't be appropriate because the chef is supposed to be making food. This is also not creative. If the chef takes the ingredients and creates a totally new dish that no one else is making, that delights the patrons at his restaurant, that is new and appropriate, and is considered creative. For something to be creative, it must be new and appropriate. There are many different types of creative people. We'll call them the 4 C's of creativity. Big C creativity is the big-time, genius-level creativity. Mozart, Einstein, Walt Disney, they were big C creatives who revolutionized not just their fields, but the world. For our world of chefs, Gordon Ramsay, Emeril Lagasse, and Wolfgang Puck might be big C creatives. Little C creatives make incremental changes in their field, like the pizza chef who threw some pineapple on his pizza and invented the Hawaiian pizza. Not revolutionary, but a good step. Mini C creatives make something new and appropriate, but just for their own personal gain or fulfillment, like the home pizza chef who tried out a new crust technique just for themselves. Finally, Pro C creatives are professionals who make new and appropriate things every day, but haven't achieved the revolutionary status or fame of the Big C creatives, like the chef who runs a fancy New York restaurant with a unique and creative menu, but isn't famous within his field. Creativity happens at the intersection of motivation, expertise, and creative thinking skills. Creative thinking skills are a process that can be learned, but basically involve breaking down a problem and thinking of as many different possible solutions before settling on the best one. But we're going to talk about motivation here because that's the key in helping boost our creativity. On the most basic level, we talk about intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation comes from within. I want to solve a problem because it will help me, or because I like helping others, or because I enjoy these types of activities. Extrinsic motivation comes from other places. You want to do something in order to be paid, get a grade, or maybe avoid going to prison. Every study on creativity will tell you that people generate more creative output when their motivation is internal. A particularly interesting case to study is one of the US Marine Corps. In the early 2000s, they began revising their basic training program. The reason? To give their recruits a more internal locus of control. People with an internal locus of control attribute their abilities to hard work and consider their achievements to be as a result of their actions. People with an external locus of control believe their life is primarily influenced by events outside of their control. If you're praised for being smart, you learn that your abilities are outside your control. You're smart, or you're not. If you're praised for working hard, you'll learn that your abilities are within your control. You can choose to work hard or not. That produces an internal locus of control. In the early 2000s, the Marine Corps had a problem. They were dealing with recruits that had never done anything but follow instructions their whole life. Said General Charles C. Krulak, Marine Commandant, they didn't even have the vocabulary for ambition. This is a problem for a fighting force that is often the first to arrive and the last to leave a war zone, where quick thinking is a matter of life and death at its smallest, and a matter of winning and losing a conflict at its worst. So they made some changes to their boot camp program to teach a bias toward action. First of all, recruits were never praised for their abilities, only their accomplishments. They didn't praise a talented athlete for doing a good job on the mile. Second, the recruits were presented with scenarios that forced them to take action. For example, new recruits are forced to clean the dirty mess hall without being given any instruction as to how. They just have to do it. Their drill sergeants only praised them for doing things that were not easy for them. All of this to help develop an internal locus of control for the recruits. An internal locus of control leads to higher intrinsic motivation. Higher intrinsic motivation leads to greater creative output. Given all of that, it would seem that motivation's biggest factor toward creative output is an intrinsic versus extrinsic reward system. Several studies confirm this. An oft-repeated study involves asking students to write poetry and judging the creativity of their poems. Before writing the poetry, students are split into two groups. Both groups are given a list of reasons to write their poetry, but one group is given all external factors, such as, they will be graded, the best one will earn money, you will get a promotion if you do well. The other group is given intrinsic reasons to do well, such as, poetry helps you express yourself. You will feel a sense of relief putting your thoughts into words. Or, it will give you an hour to unwind. The groups that are given the intrinsic reasons to write always wind up writing more creative material. Let's look at our Venn diagram again. If we want more creative output, we need to work on the motivations to be creative. That means helping our people find intrinsic reasons to solve problems, and praising them for their work and accomplishments rather than their natural abilities. Looking at why we engage in creative tasks can help us come up with intrinsic motivations for doing so. We can break up the biggest reasons we do creative things into the 4 Gs. Growth is the personal enjoyment of the creative process. You write books because you like to write books. Gain is being driven by traditional rewards such as salary or grades. Guidance is the pleasure of offering one's creative talents to help someone else nurture and grow. And giving is when you use your creativity to help other people. To boost motivation and thereby boost creativity, create an environment where people are praised more for their effort and accomplishments than their natural abilities, and then work to justify tasks with reasons that stem from inside rather than outside the individual. Don't fall into the notion that there are creative people and non-creative people. Don't believe the lie that you're not a creative person. Creative thinking skills can be taught and learned. Expertise can be taught and learned. And given the right motivations, you are capable of generating amazingly creative ideas.